Good day everyone, my name is Anna and welcome to Cactus Caffeine. For today, we are going to be doing a tidying up here in my backyard. A summer tidying up, as you may call it. Today, I am going to be doing some pruning, cleaning, decluttering, getting rid of what did not make it through the summer, and fixing up some of the pots here in my backyard and making room. It has been so hot the past few weeks, months actually. I have been waiting for this day when we will have a cool down. Today it was at the height of 102 degrees Fahrenheit only. Yes, that is still hot for most of you guys, but believe it or not, here, that is already a cool down for us during the summertime. We had temperatures reaching up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was an all-time heat record for Las Vegas, and we did set it this year. But finally today it is a little bit cooler, so I thought I would show you guys and take you along as I try to do some cleaning up in my backyard. The first thing that I will do is trim this opuntia, because as you can see, this part is leaning, and every time I have to walk over there and go behind because I have more cactus there against the wall, I accidentally rub on these pads and glockheads stick to me. So I've decided to trim all these in here and just keep it upright. Also, the opuntias here, these by the way are Opuntia ficus indica, or the nopales. That one too, I have to trim it from the back. I'm going to go around so you can see how it looks from the back. See how huge this is. So I have to trim some of the pads, and then also there at the back. See, when I walk here, those pads brush onto me, so I'm going to trim them as well. This is what I've done so far with this opuntia. I might have to take out more pads, but we'll see. I'll see how it looks as I keep on tidying in this area. I still have to remove the dead leaves over there from the asparagus fern, and this one too, remove some of the leaves at the bottom. This has very spiky leaves. They're sharp, the edges are sharp, so I have to contain this to prevent us from accidentally rubbing onto it. Here are all the pads that I took off from that opuntia. So these are for discarding. However, these small pads, I think I will keep them. I will be cooking them, grilling them, these young pads. The parts where I cut off the pads, as you can see, there is a big cut on several parts of this opuntia plant. Normally, when I do my cuttings for other cacti, I would sprinkle cinnamon powder on top of this just to help it dry out faster and prevent fungus from entering your cactus. But since this is a mature opuntia plant and it's summer right now, our humidity here is very low. There is no forecast of immediate rain in the next few days. I have no worries just leaving it like this and letting it dry by itself. However, if you live in a place where it rains a lot, or especially if you're doing your cutting winter time, then I would suggest you to apply something on this, like I said, cinnamon powder, or if you have sulfur powder. Those will help seal and heal the cut quicker than if you just leave it like this. Here in the middle, I also have to trim that asparagus fern. During the summer or the height of summer, I let it grow like this over this cactus lattice spinus here because it provides it some protection from the sun. But now that it's not that hot anymore, I think I can remove that now and clean this section up. This cactus right here, this is actually the Opuntia monacantha variegated, or what they call the Joseph's coat, I think. Anyway, when I bought it, it was small. Usually when they sell it, they sell this small, and the pads are more elongated, like this one right here, and then they would be variegated. They would have like red growth during springtime. It looks really nice, but then I realized that if you plant it in the ground, it is going to grow. And look at the pads, they are now more oval in shape, and look at the spines. Wow. So this plant, unless you want it to look like this, I would say keep it in a pot, keep it small, because at least for me, I think it looks nicer when it was small, and you can clearly see the variegation when it was smaller. And right now you can hardly tell that this one is variegated, except that the pads are a little bit yellow. But when this was young, you can clearly see its variegation. Anyway, now I am thinking I might have to remove this in here because I don't like a big opuntia, spiny opuntia like that in the middle of this garden. The agave that I have right here finally succumbed to the heat. Well, it lasted a few years. I had this for maybe 6 years here in the ground, and every summer it would like burn, but it would always recover. But I guess this year it was really too hot that it did not make it. So this one is a goner. Okay, now it's time to tackle the back side of this garden. I'm going to be pruning this opuntia. This is how it looks from the other side. I have to trim some of the pads. There's just too many of them. Some are already leaning on this side, and I cannot walk here without rubbing onto them, so I have to take out the pads right here. I finished pruning this opuntia. I also pruned this plant right here. I cut down the bottom leaves. And the opuntia monacantha in here, I decided to remove it. Now I can see my cactus lattice spinus. Also, this opuntia here, I gave it a little trimming. I wasn't planning on cutting this one, but then it self-pruned. It broke due to the wind probably. So I'll have to cut that one out too. Let's check the back section here. So I gave this asparagus fern a good trim and removed all the dead leaves. As for the cacti back here, I don't think there is much that I need to do in here except for cleaning up of the dead leaves. Look at my Alawaudia procera. Wow, growing so beautiful. Oh, it is growing an extra branch right here. Oh, this is new. Okay, so yep, not much to do back here. We are moving on to another section in my backyard. So this section is 2 years old. This is how it looked 2 years ago. And this is it today. Back here, I used to have a very tall Trichocereus bacchianus that kept leaning despite my efforts to support it. I decided finally to chop off the tallest column, and now I am left with all those babies, and I'm having second thoughts about keeping them in there because this section is getting very crowded. And then over here, this Trichocereus also grew taller and now it started to lean. One thing with Trichocereus, many of them when they grow big, they start to lead over. They sprawl and they occupy a very big space. Again, another lesson learned for me when I plant cacti in the ground. Here again is another Trichocereus with a sprawling growth habit. Its columns got longer and eventually leaned, and I mean, look at this, they're all growing on top of each other. Therefore, I have to do more pruning in this section. I have this Echinopsis in front. This is the one that produces pink flowers. It is very prolific in terms of forming babies, and I don't want it to cover the mother plant, so I'm going to remove some of the pups on top. This is what I did to my Trichocereus. So all the long and leaning branches, I cut them all off and I just left the small ones back there. Also here, I cut the big, long, and the one that was leaning. So there is the cut right there. It is actually a big cut. So for this one, I'm going to give it extra protection to prevent fungus from forming. So I'm going to use cinnamon powder on top of this. Okay, so this will help it heal faster. And cinnamon also has an antifungal property. It will prevent pathogens from entering the body of the cactus. For this part of the garden, there are only two things that I want to do in here. Well, three. The third being cleaning up of the dead leaves and all the debris. But the two other thing is, first, this cholla right here. There are actually three chollas planted in here. When they were smaller, when I planted them, I did not know if they're gonna survive, so I planted 3 cuttings in there. But anyway, all 3 survived. And now that they are bigger, I can see this one has grown so much taller than the rest. I will remove the other 2 and just leave 1 choya in here. I've seen this when it's mature, and it will grow maybe 2-3 feet in height, and it is very bushy. So definitely having 3 in this spot is too much. And then the other thing that I have to work in this section is this. This is Opuntia sulfurea. This is the one that I bought from Mojave Blooms. I did not have the time to repot it, so this is the 3rd project that I will be working on. I have to transfer this to my own soil and in a better pot. Over on this side of the garden, I used to have an Austrocylindro subulata growing in that spot where the pot is. And in my previous video, I was deliberating whether to cut it down or completely remove it because it was growing too tall, too fast, and it was also leaning. I planted it too close to the wall. Anyway, I decided to remove it, and now I have that space back there. But then there is this opuntia right here, so it will just give this opuntia more room to grow in that section. So I decided not to plant anything in that spot. And then an update on this section, there used to be a juniper bush here, and I also was deciding whether to remove it or leave it, and I decided to remove it also. And it's in its place I have this tree. I forgot the name of this tree, but anyway, I'll put it on the screen. This is what I got from Mojave Bloom, so it was recommended to me by Norm Schilling. So I decided to plant that one. He said this is going to grow into a tree, but not too tall, maybe 5-6 feet in height, and then I can just keep, trimming it and maintain that height. And then down here I have this Cactus setispinus that I just planted in there because I had no more pot. I removed this from one of my other pots that was getting crowded, and while waiting for a pot, I decided to just plant it in here, and look, it flowered. It was in bloom this morning. While this tree is still small, I have a big space back here. I decided to put one pot of a totem pole cactus in there, and then if I find another, nice pot, I probably put another one in here. Just while this tree is small, I want to put something in there that is not permanent in order for me to be able to, move them or remove them later on. And as for this section, okay, I was able to remove the 2 choyas in here. And then there is my opuntia sulfurea now in its new pot. Alright, so I think I'm going to call it a day. Actually, it took me 2 days to finish everything. And I know I will have more to do. The work doesn't finish, especially with my potted cacti. I still have a lot of replanting to do. But as for now, I think my tasks for the summer is pretty much mostly done. So I am going to end this video right here. If you like this video, guys, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Follow me on Facebook and in Instagram. And until next time, bye everyone and cheers.